Welcome back to Muslim Minds Podcast, I think episode 4.
I don't know.
Because our third one got removed. If you want to watch our third one about Palestine, go to Rumble. We'll put the link in the description.
We became the Tates.
Yeah, we got canceled.
Yeah, what a short run it was.
Yeah, but we're back.
Yeah.
Sorry for the delay. I know you guys were crying, and people did reach out in comments and
yeah,
why are you not uploading?
Yeah.
That was nice. Appreciate it, guys.
We have some
But
fans.
Palestine updates.
Yeah, man. Just our thoughts. We wanted to share our thoughts and kind of leave some of our comments on the situation, some of the latest developments, and just our overall kind of view of everything. And I'll just first say, here's what it is in a nutshell. And I'm not going to begin the story in the middle. Palestine existed and has existed, and the people who have lived there, some of their generations go back thousands of years. Israel came into being for Jewish settlers needing a homeland. There are a couple of different options that were actually presented, one of them being Argentina, I think you mentioned Uganda, and then they had finally determined Palestine. You have 70 years of illegal settlement, the Nakba, violence. I guess you could say on both sides, of course. When you have your land seized, there's going to be violence. And then obviously when you're taking land, there's going to be violence. As Winston Churchill even mentioned, and some of the kind of founding fathers of the whole Zionist movement, and even the kind of the usurping, that's a word, of Palestine. Usurping of... But yeah, now what's the case? You have everyone knows decades upon decades of violence and oppression towards the Palestinians. Their land is taken. You have, children being murdered in the West Bank and Gaza. Then you have Hamas launching this retaliatory. Again, there's much history I'm leaving out. Much. I'm just kind of giving you guys the idea that people existed, people came, conflict happened, 70 years passed, and bam, now we have this current conflict, right? Hamas launches rockets into Israel. We have then a retaliatory response from Israel, and that is just the overshadowing kind of point of this whole thing for us. Yes, you have the attacks from Hamas to Israel. That was horrible. Innocent people died. It's something that shouldn't have come to those terms. You shouldn't have caged an animal and tortured it for so long that this kind of response, it really shouldn't be shocking. It's not justified. It's not morally upright. It's not amazing. But does it really shock you when you live in a, big or a small, prison?
Confined open air prison.
Yeah, 2 million people.
Israel controls all the resources, electricity, water, anything.
Right.
And at any moment, you can be unjustifiably bombed or killed.
Right.
That's why there's so many people that are acting in such, you might deem a violent way, but their generation and older generation have just been confined to a land
and abused.
Yeah.
So you have their response that's wrong, but based off their history and all that, none of it is justification for what they did. But what we're seeing in the narrative for those who support what Israel's doing, they're saying no. What they're doing is a response. They have a right to defend themselves. And that's why what they're doing, although it's horrific, it's not really terrorism because it's a justified response to terrorism that happened on their land. But that's hypocrisy. So the kind of themes that we're noticing here that we wanted to touch upon is hypocrisy, and then the ratio. How many civilians are dying? It's 99% civilian casualties. 9,000 Palestinian children are dead. I'm sorry. That overshadows what happened on October the 7th. That even actually overshadows probably the majority of the whole history of the entire conflict. 9,000 children, because you have to understand this response, this retaliatory attack from Israel to Palestine is happening on a population where 50% are children. Rabbi Shmuley, that interview with Muhammad Ajab, Shmuley and Piers, he said that Israel is very surgical in what they do. No, they're not. No, they're not. They lie about Hamas being in a hospital. They lie about 40 babies being killed and burning people. There's a bunch of lies that are being just produced, and that the Western powers are backing up, like Joe Biden, backing up a bunch of fraudulent claims from the IDF. But now you look at what's happening on the ground, and you see one reality, that the Palestinian people are being decimated. Their infrastructure is being totaled, and half of the civilians are children. That is not something that's acceptable. That is an overreaction.
Yeah, it's just completely unjustifiable. Even if you have no horse in the race, just think logically and rationally about it. There's absolutely no justification. I can't even, like, there's no really more words to be said about the situation.
There are so many other ways of going about this. You don't use white phosphorus, which is an international war crime. Other international war crimes, which include collective punishment, which is what's happening, attacking one group of people because of a smaller population's actions. That's collective punishment, right? They're going after Hamas. They're saying the civilians are there, doesn't matter, we're going to still go anyway. That's wrong. I don't know how you guys can't see that. Now, some may ask, okay, what is the response? Should they just sit back and do nothing? No. How about increasing the Mossad, who's supposed to be one of the greatest security intel agencies in the world? They just slipped under their nose. It just happened. How? This whole area is controlled by Israel. People don't understand that. The ports, every single entryway into and out of Gaza is controlled by Israel. The food, electricity, gas, water. How is it possible this kind of operation could have been carried out successfully? It's a huge intel failure. That is the number one thing that needs to be improved. Also, tighten up your border security. These kind of things. Improve your Iron Dome system. It was not functional enough to intercept all the missiles. First thing, the best offense is the best defense. Or the best defense is the best offense. That's number one. The second thing is you want to go and take out those Hamas guys. You want to give it to them. Go in with men, ground invade, then go surgically try to attack the Hamas fighters as best as you can. Now, some can say, "Oh, Israel's already doing that." Yeah, not after bombing, thousands of times over the Gazan Strip and killing 90%, 99% civilians. Right? The question has to be asked: if this say you're a U.S. citizen, okay, and in let's say in I don't know, Texas, in Austin, Texas, okay, it's the capital of Texas, okay. Let's say there's a pretty sizable terrorist organization that's in Austin, like 30,000 people, right? Would the rest of the U.S. sit back where the U.S. says, look, for the greater good, we're going to just bomb Austin to smithereens? All the millions of citizens that live in Austin, sucks to suck. I know there are kids and people that have lives and dreams and they're human individuals. We're going to just get rid of them all. We're going to bomb them all in the hopes of getting rid of this small terrorist organization. You guys would not stand for that. You would know there's another way. There's a better way to go about handling the situation. That definitely isn't it. It's easy when you look at it as a statistic, when you look at it that this whole situation is happening to someone else, but it's not your kids, it's not your mom, it's not your dad, it's not your siblings, it's not your friend. Think about that for a minute. All these things you enjoy in your life, even the things you have the right to complain about, going to school, work, going out with your friends, I don't know, Saturday night, movie night, whatever you like to do, you're a normal human. These people don't get that, man. These kids, their organs are falling out, their faces are burnt off. I mean, you just look at those images. It should never happen. It should never happen. And it didn't begin October 7th because of Hamas. That whole land, those people, the Palestinian people, have been abused and oppressed for 70 plus years. So you can't just start the situation in the middle. And if you want a retaliatory response, this isn't the way to do it.
Yeah, it's completely unjust. And like you said, even it's hard for me and maybe many other people to remember that everyone in the world is just an individual at the end of the day. It doesn't matter what side you're on. Any innocent life at the end of the day is an innocent life, especially if they're kids. People, they're not, a lot of them are babies or infants. There's kids being killed when they're a couple days old.
Pregnant mothers that can't deliver properly.
Kids, imagine them being in elementary school and they're being bombed for no good reason.
Yeah. Surgeries happening without any anesthesia because of lack of medical supplies and power. Surgeries on people who have just been bombed. People are dying in the middle of the operation because, what can you do?
Yeah, and the fact that you can't look at this situation unless you start on October 7th is just laughable. Any interview you look at... It just reveals your ignorance. Do you condemn Hamas on October 7th? Okay, yes, I do. But what about 100 years before that?
That's even a disservice to Israel. Starting the story in the middle is ignoring all the context that led up to it so you can prevent that from happening again in the future. If you're going to act like all that's irrelevant and Hamas just randomly attacked, Hamas was just some random terrorist group that lives in the Gaza Strip for no reason, and they randomly attack Israel, right? You're doing a disservice to Israel if you're an Israeli supporter. How are they going to defend themselves in the future if they're just going to say, no, Hamas? You're going to ignore all the reason, context, and history that led up to this moment, which is very crucial in understanding these things so that they don't happen again in the future. You're doing a disservice to mankind. And those of you who support this genocide, ethnic cleansing, wiping out of Palestinians, like at this rate, for a couple of Hamas fighters, 100-to-1 ratio, is what the numbers are looking like. If you support that, you're opening the door for the world to say, hey, whatever society, this is okay. If it's in the United States, this kind of response is okay. If it's in China, India, Pakistan, the Europe, United Kingdom, it doesn't matter. If there is a terrorist group that launches an attack on somewhere, that somewhere can respond by bombing to oblivion, even if 99% casualties are civilians. What do you end up doing? You create a cycle of never-ending hatred and terrorism. You're going to bomb these people. There are going to be some survivors. What's going to happen with most of these survivors? They're going to become radical, extreme. And they're going to have a grudge and they're going to try to fight back. This is what happens. You make a cycle.
Yeah. And I remember you mentioned before, and I saw it too, even Elon Musk, whatever you want to say about him, if he's a good person or not, he did also say in a podcast with Lex Friedman, like, the more damage Israel's doing and the response they're doing, if you don't think it's good or not, it doesn't really matter. They're just creating more of what they are trying to destroy.
Right.
Doesn't make any sense.
Right.
And I saw something interesting. It was an interesting post that said what the Nazis did in their time, they killed, if you average it out, it was like 150 Jewish children killed every day. Right now, there's about 190 Palestinian kids being killed every day, if you average it out. So what's happening right now, if you put on the same rate, it's a greater atrocity than what happened at World War II, which is what caused the Jewish people which is one reason they justify moving to Palestine Israel.
Right.
So doing a worse atrocity.
Right.
But it's just only been a month and a half right now, but already so much bad has happened.
A lot of these reasons you heard against the Jewish people that kind of ended up in a situation where they were in the Holocaust and being persecuted and had to have their own homeland and be relocated. You hear a lot of the same rhetoric. Oh, they're subhuman, they're animals, nothing but evil comes from them. Whatever happens to them is a justified response. Hitler's final solution was for what? Let's just take care of these Jews because it's better to just get rid of all of them. Don't you see the parallels? It's so ironic. The modern day Nazis are the Zionists. It's baffling. The modern day Hitler is Netanyahu. Look at it this way, right? You guys are going to sit here and be like, okay, no, it's fine. Let's bomb 12, 13,000 people, kill them, 9,000 of which are children, okay? To some people, that's fine. There's no end in sight. That's not their bar. I want to know, what is the bar? Where's the limit, right? Because I sincerely believe there are some people, and I'm asking this, is there no bar? Let's say what it takes to kill Hamas is just completely destroying Gaza, wiping every single person out. Is that justified? And if that's the case, then it's like, what are you fighting for then? If you're fighting to get rid of terrorists so that they don't harm civilians, but in doing so, you get rid of all of the civilians, then what's the point? There has to be a different answer. And some people, they try to go on this argument. A lot of the times when you ask Israeli sympathizers, they say, oh, we're sorry for the Palestinians and the Gazans because of Hamas. Hamas brought this upon them. Well, if that's their clever argument, then they also have to advocate for a solution that wouldn't mean the destruction of all the Gazans or Palestinians. Because if so, then the people they feel sorry for, they also don't mind being killed. If they feel remorse or sympathy for the people of Gaza because of Hamas, then that means they would want the people of Gaza to survive. Right? Otherwise, your sorry means nothing. What is your remorse? It's just all talk. That's the point. This is the moral quandary, like Piers would say, that I have, which is, if you are supporting Israel and their attacks on the Palestinian people like this, then honestly, you have to question your own morality. You have to question your own understanding of human nature. What it means to value human life. Because you would not tolerate this happening to Israel. In fact, you are okay with what Israel is doing because of what quote-unquote Hamas did to Israel in the first place, even though it wasn't the first, nor was it the beginning action that started all of this. But that is being used as an excuse to eviscerate these people with getting a couple of Hamas fighters. So I'm asking, if you guys think that just getting rid of them to this level even if it includes getting rid of all the Palestinian people, all of Gaza, would you guys be okay with that?
Yeah. So one thing I think that's good that's happened so far is, even though there's such atrocities happening and all this is completely ridiculous, there's so much more support now for Palestinian people than ever before on social media, YouTube videos. You got, even though Piers Morgan, he's pretty silly, he's giving a platform to people. Maybe he's chasing views, whatever. But
Right.
people like Mohammed Hijab, Andrew Tate, low-key, a bunch of amazing Palestinian supporters are giving their evidences and reasons why Palestinian people are being oppressed. There's so many like actors and famous people that are speaking out on Palestine. They're losing brand deals and stuff, being removed from movies, but they're still doing it because this is like, it's a genocide. At this rate, it is genocide. At this rate, it's worse than the Holocaust.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing, at least. And now the public opinion and the general population, they're all with Palestine.
You know what's crazy? The point made about the Holocaust, people, it wasn't like just all over the news. Like you could just watch it happening. We're watching a live genocide.
We're watching it every day. Instagram, press being killed.
It is worse in a way because people are watching this one.
Yeah.
That's the difference. This time people
live. You can watch anything live. Back then you couldn't.
That's crazy, man. People are watching this live and they're defending it somehow. Like, you know, Hamza, like you said, most people, most civilians, most, independent people, thinkers, academics, they are on the side of Palestine. You have the major, I guess you could say kind of like
legacy media.
Yeah, legacy media. People who have like
TV stations, news outlets.
Yeah, people who have kind of like an influence from Israel and their existence, people who have relations or some kind of benefit or a tie with Israel, like the Western powers, like the United States. They're kind of forced in a way, or they're forcing themselves where they have to defend Israel.
Or they have some reason they want to for financial gains, political power,
right? Exactly, for their interest. The U.S.'s interest or kind of focal point of entry in the Middle East is Israel. That's kind of like their base in the Middle East.
Yeah, it's pretty much all Western interest.
Right.
Western.
It's for interest, like you said. It's for benefit. It's not really because of the morality of the situation.
Is it for economical gain?
Yeah, because a lot of these politicians, they don't care, man. You show them a picture of it. I mean, they're the ones who are bombing children. Obama bombing the Middle East like crazy. They do what they need to for their own interests. They don't care about
the company of America, basically.
Right, exactly. If you think about it this way, and I'm going to reach out here to the religious people. If you're, obviously a Muslim, if you're a Christian or a Jew, you cannot tolerate these kind of things. If you're a Christian, how much you understand the mercy of God and Jesus, right? And how much, Christianity advocates for even loving your enemy and turning the cheek, right? These people are not even, and there are Christians dying in Gaza, which people don't talk about because, who cares about the Muslims, right? Oh, a bunch of backwards Muslims are being killed. A lot of people have this view. Put that aside. What about the Christians? What about the Catholics? Right? They will have no ties with Hamas. They're not even Islam. They're not Muslim or anything like that. Hamas claims to be an Islamic organization. You have Christian. Why do they even live in Gaza? You might ask. Because they're stuck there. If you're born in Gaza, you can't leave. That's just what it is. That's what they call it, an open air prison. So you have innocent people who are Christians. For our Christians out there, does that not hurt your heart? Do they deserve to be caught up in this? They don't, and you know it. And even that, the Jews, it goes without saying, how many pro-Palestinian Jewish supporters are there? Going out, marching in the streets, protesting, saying that this is not right, that the Israeli state is actually legal itself. They're going beyond just this current issue. They've been protesting the Zionist Israeli state from the beginning, saying that it's wrong, it's oppressive, because it goes against their religious values. If you are someone of a faith with, and adheres to that faith and the tenets of that faith, especially the Abrahamic faiths, there is no way you can sit back with this retaliatory response and be okay with what's unfolding. Look, I know you guys see the images of those children, piles of children crushed by tons of rubble, some of them barely alive. If they live, they're deformed, they're disabled, and most of their families are dead. This is hell on earth. Hell on earth, and you guys are justifying it. You guys are looking at them like statistics. You're being brainwashed. Take yourself out of the situation. Look at the response Israel is doing. It's not just some kind of justified, glorious response. No, Israel is an oppressive state. They are an apartheid state. They have different kind of permissions for those who are citizens who are Arab nationality and Israeli nationality. That the Israelis will have more perks, even if you are a citizen. It doesn't matter if you're just some kind of illegal immigrant or whatever. No, if you're a citizen, you have different rights. And then you look, forget the war, genocide. You look at the history of Palestine and Israel. You look at the Nakba, the displacement of 700,000 Palestinians. You look at the modern day current illegal Israeli settlement being seized. Even the pro-Palestinian marches in Palestine that have been peaceful, that have been met with deadly force, shooting into the crowd. This is not something new. If you have any knowledge about the Israeli-Palestine situation, you know that the Israeli government has been extremely oppressive against the Palestinian people, killing the press. I forgot that one lady's name. Last year or so, there was a press. She was killed, and when they were doing her janazah or taking her to be buried, they were shooting at her coffin being carried. What could be the excuse there? Oh, Hamas, like they use for everything. Oh, there's a Hamas under this your mom's dinner plate. Let's blow up the house. Like they use Hamas as an excuse to bomb and eviscerate everything, even though there's no evidence. They just say that it is. People believe it, so they can have the excuse to just bomb whatever they want. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
Even bombing escape routes. Hey, you guys, you have 24 hours, flee to the south, 1 million people, go, make it happen somehow, right? Even though there are people in the hospital, babies being born, you name it, how many issues can happen? And all of a sudden, mass migration needs to happen. As they are migrating, they are being bombed, they're being destroyed. It's like, it's an exhausting situation, but as Muslims, this is our take on the death. For those who are martyred in the way of Allah, Muslims who are wrongly killed, they're murdered, we call them shuhada or martyrs. So they go directly to paradise and they're with God, they're with Allah. And you can see the resilience of the Palestinian people. All their family is wiped out. They say, praise God. Their family is wiped out, say, alhamdulillah, praise God. That, we'll be patient, that God is with the believers. This is the stuff that you hear them say, reciting the Quran, showing patience, weeping, but putting their trust in Allah, saying we trust Allah. I mean, you know how difficult that is? You are in a war-torn climate. You are being bombed for no reason. You are being bombed. As a civilian are bombed for no reason. It's completely just ripped apart. You and your entire family. And what's their response? They're praising God. They're glorifying God. They're being patient. That kind of patience and strength they have can only be from the divine. So as a Muslim, we don't see this as a complete loss as a situation, even though so many people are dying. God is ever watchful of what's happening to them and watchful of what the oppressors are doing. And God is not going to let their oppression go to waste. God is not going to let their oppression
go to waste. That makes sense.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
they're being oppressed and they're going to be rewarded for that.
Right.
Because we as Muslims, we do not. Obviously, being in this situation is completely scary. We're not in this. We don't know.
Yeah.
But this world is not our end goal. Our end goal is the akhirah, the afterlife.
Right.
And the way to get there is to be the best servant and slave of God as possible. So those people, even though they're going through such a trial, God or Allah, He revealed His revelation and stories of prophets so that we can be able to get through it. Imagine if you didn't have religion, what would these people do? There would be anarchy. But because we have Islam, we're able to cope with these things that would otherwise be uncopable. What would you even think?
Right.
All your family's killed. You just start murdering everyone, maybe.
Yeah, honestly,
what the hell do you have to live
these
for?
people
What do
do?
you have to live for?
Exactly.
Except for the afterlife.
Yeah, when you are born into a living hell, a prison that's being bombed to oblivion, all the people you care about are taken away. You think you're going to care about the world? No. What's holding these people down is not just any religion, it's Islam. That's why you see the beauty in their patience. That they're dealing with it. They're saying, Alhamdulillah, Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakeel. That's the number one thing you keep hearing them say. So,
Allah is sufficient for me.
Yeah, so what we need to understand is that as Muslims, we're grieving. We want this to stop because as Muslims, we're also ordered with preventing, stopping, and advocating against oppression. And it's still obviously horrible, wrong, abhorrent, grotesque, nasty, all that. But that being said, it's not as simple as it's just a loss. They're going to Jannah, they're going to paradise, they're with Allah. Allah is with them. They're being granted a patience that we can't fathom. and they will be rewarded, and those who are oppressing will get their due. They'll get it in this dunya or in the akhirah, where Allah says they will stare in horror continuously, because that is going to be the day of judgment. That's going to be the day of Yawm al-Qiyamah, where they're going to be faced with the actions of what they have done. And it is true, and it will happen. This world is a test. If you look around, if you actually just take some time to think about how this world is made, how we function as human beings, if you actually take some time to really study religion, not from this ignorance point of view, we just try to dismiss it, but actually look at the proofs of Islam, you will come to realize that there is a God, there is a creator, that this world is not just some random output of the universe, and that in that being said, there will be a day of judgment. There's going to be accountability. But like I mentioned, as a decent human being, as a Muslim, non-Muslim, we should be advocating for the peace of the people of Palestine, for the right to their homeland, and at the very least, for at least this genocide, onslaught, murder, bombardment to attack.
Yeah, genocide. Just unjustified killing. Just oppression, straight up oppression.
Yeah, man.
And then this keeps happening, like Nelson Mandela, even people like Malcolm X, when
the Holocaust,
people,
like you mentioned.
yeah, like people are being oppressed whenever people, just like superpowers trying to repress these people, they have no voice. But now the good thing is, with social media, with actual people reporting on stuff, all the propaganda is being reversed back onto them.
Yeah.
The lies of Shiva Hospital,
the 40 babies.
Yeah, like intelligence of Hamas is just a calendar on the wall, just like tally marks, like kids' calendar. Yeah, this is terrorist information.
Oh, but Hamza, the curtains.
Yeah,
the curtains hiding the wall. Like
then there's tunnels with nothing in it. No one was there. There's just lies and propaganda, and it's all being reversed onto them. Like there's just objective. Even if you somehow support Israel, like what is the response for that? They're just lying to your face.
Exactly. And you also have to understand, like, why are you so fine with them controlling the narrative? People who are merely saying free Palestine, or they're in support of the people of Palestine, the Gaza, for the right to live, or at least the bombardment to end, or calling for a ceasefire. They're losing their jobs. They're being blackmailed. They're being boycotted. They're being canceled, taken off social media platforms. You guys don't see some kind of red flag or some kind of alarm going off with that? Usually when they're trying to control your voice with the media, it's because they want one specific narrative to reach the people. And it's probably not a very sincere one. There's only so much you can trust the government. They're gonna go for their best interests. It's not always going to be morality. It's going to be what's economically viable. What's going to be viable to the country and its interests. Look at Iraq, weapons of mass destruction. This is not the first time you've been lied to. The American people. You guys have not been lied to for the first time with this incident. Look at Iraq. Look at the weapons of mass destruction. There were no weapons of mass destruction. Millions of Iraqis died. Even U.S. soldiers died. Lots of money was spent. Billions of dollars. Right? So for no reason. You guys have to ask yourself these kind of questions. It's because it's easy to believe in these things when a people or a population have become dehumanized. Then it gives some kind of justification. Oh, let's go get these people. After the events of 9/11, people kind of saw the Middle East as one giant terrorist, not realizing there's different peoples and cultures and nationalities, whatever. But it's just funny because that was
modern day colonialism and propaganda, just drawing a line over the whole globe. These people are bad.
Mm-hmm. They become animals, so then when something happens to them, you don't care. I remember I saw this one journalist or reporter when the whole thing was kind of going down with Ukraine. When it first began, she said I can't believe this is happening. This is Europe. What? This happening anywhere is horrible, innocent people dying anywhere. Newsflash, sucks. It's not a good thing. It's a pretty bad thing to happen to anybody. Those are innocent kids. They didn't do anything. Mothers, fathers, hard workers, people studying, for whatever. There's
regular people that want to live, get married, have kids, study something, have a job, live a life. Explore the world. They can't even leave. They can't do what they want to do.
You guys, it's so funny. You guys are saying it yourself and not even realizing it. Israel has a right to defend itself. This is a, response to what Hamas has done. That being said, if you look at the 70 years worth of oppression to the Palestinian people, the taking of their land, the murder of thousands of them, then you, by your own definition, have to say what Hamas did was also okay because it was a retaliatory response for years of oppression. So you guys don't even realize you are kind of accepting and giving the green light.
Yeah, that should be consistency.
Yeah, you have to be. You can't just say it. You know that this is okay because it's Israel. That
Like Andrew Tate said, you can't start in the middle of the story. It's not even the middle. It's like you're on the last page when there's 500 pages before it.
Right.
Yeah. But I guess at the end of the day, we all can just do what we can, like try to spread the message. And a lot of like imams, religious leaders have said that's actually, instead of, there's horrible stuff happening in Gaza, but actually more of the trial's on us. Because like, what are we going to do with this information?
Yeah.
Because they are in the trial, so they have no choice. But we have a choice. Are we being better Muslims? Are we being better people? Are we improving ourselves to be better slaves to Allah? Like, are we doing what we can? Because also we will be asked on the Day of Judgment, what did we do to help?
Yeah.
So we need to make sure, and anyone who's watching, we're being the best people possible. We're not wasting time. We're not wasting our potential and just doing nothing.
Silent.
Yeah. We're not just being uneducated. I struggle with that a lot because it's hard just living here. You have so many distractions.
Right.
You have a life, you have a job, you have going to the gym, whatever, family events, eating. But I don't know, it's difficult. What do you think?
Yeah, no, the Prophet ﷺ said that when there's, not verbatim, but if you see evil, to try to prevent it with your hands. And if you can't prevent it with your hand, then the next step is to verbally try to prevent it or stop it or protest it, right? And then after that, if you can't do that, then to hate it with your heart. Well, we can say things, we can post things, we can verbally denounce what's happening to the Palestinian people, and you should be doing that. All while understanding what Hamza said, which is a very good point, that the Palestinian people have already reached victory. This world is very deceptive. You might be like, what are you talking about? But this world is a test. And it's on one criteria, your belief in Allah, which is tied to also your good character. Because being someone of good and upstanding moral character also includes someone who believes in Allah, the way he should be believed in. The Palestinian people have demonstrated that, and they are demonstrating that under the most difficult circumstances any human could possibly ever endure. So with that being said, they're being martyred and they're going to Jannah, and Allah is with them, and there will be a day where they're going to be, even in this dunya, they're going to be freed, and they're going to be, Allah will come to their aid in this dunya and in the akhirah. But for us, seeing that they're oppressed, what are we doing? Are we remaining silent? Are we making dua for them at the very least? Are we giving what little money you can give to at least try to provide some aid through those avenues? Even if you're not sure if the aid's getting in, at least you're putting in the effort, right? So if you're not putting in any effort whatsoever for these people who are suffering, your Palestinian brothers and sisters and children, then you have to question your own Islam. You have to question your own morality. There are things you can be doing and there are things you should be doing. The test in reality is not necessarily on them as it is like it is on us. They're going through a tremendous test, no doubt. But the greater test is on the rest of the ummah. And you might be thinking I'm crazy, but let me give you a good Islamic example. Someone can be tested with poverty, which is objectively a poor thing to be in. But then you can also be tested with riches, which everyone would probably want that test, right? They'll say that. Oh, I want to be in a financially comfortable position where I can support my family. I don't have to worry about money. I'm rich. I can enjoy the luxuries of this world. But there's also a tremendous test that comes with that, right? That's the kind of test we are.
Yeah, the more you have, the more responsibility you have over every single thing.
Right.
So actually, because we're in a better state and this is still happening to them, they have like that trial. They're doing everything they can. They have no other option.
Right.
But we have so many other options we can do.
Yeah.
So it's more of a trial on us to do something.
Yeah.
And even inshallah, something we like you said, we can't do anything with our hand really because we're not there. The most and best thing we can do is use our voice, talk about it with people, or even the best we can do is maybe show up to protest, use our voice as well, use our bodies.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
You might wonder what's the point in being vocal? What's the point in posting? Well, you're keeping the topic on the table. You're not allowing this to just happen, being slid under the rug, and keeping that tension on the subject, keeping it in the forefront, and opening more people's eyes. The goal is, inshallah, God willing, to have it come to a halt by some kind of action being taken place, some kind of pressure being put on authorities to stop this in some way, in any way, shape, form, or fashion. You are more likely to attain that goal by being vocal, doing something, speaking truth to tyranny, versus sitting back and doing nothing. Plus, it's the words of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You have to do it for your own morality. You gotta fight. It's like if someone's attacking your family, even if you're outnumbered, you're gonna fight. You're not gonna sit back, and even if it looks hopeless, right? Because it's the right thing to do, is to fight back. That's what you gotta do. That's what it means to be a human. Is you gotta go above sometimes even the realm of rationality and these kind of things, and you gotta put your faith in the law, and you gotta do what is just the morally correct thing to do. Right? Like, again, objectively, someone can look at, their sister being blown apart in Gaza, right? What's the most rational human thing to do? Cry, scream, try to get your revenge. But no, Islam teaches sabr. Trust Allah. Know that they're in a better place, that they're with Allah, that they're in a place far better than any of us in this entire dunya could even imagine. And that is your job to be patient and to do what you can in, whatever capacity you have after that. So
yeah, I think that's a good place to end off. Try to include donation link down below. Also, our other podcast with our brother Muhammad, who's a Palestinian. We'll put the Rumble link below. Hopefully this doesn't get removed.
Yeah.
But yeah, anything else you want to say, or we're good to wrap up?
I think we're good.
So yeah, thanks you guys for watching. Leave any comments down below on what we said on the topic of Palestine and the recent events. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.